February 21st, 1986. The Legend of Zelda released on the Famicom Disk System and the Nintendo Entertainment System worldwide. The Legend of Zelda changed the way the world played video games forever, from the gameplay, the art, the puzzles, and the way games were designed. Today, we are going to pick apart the game, the pros, the cons, and finally, we will give it an honest score from 0 to 10. The art. Zelda changed the way people looked at video games. There was much more detail in the way the environment was designed. We look back on it thinking to ourselves about how blocky Link looks. At the time, games were extremely pixelated. There were very few top-down action RPGs. One of the most notable was Hydlide for the NEC PC 8801. But nothing quite like The Legend of Zelda. From an art perspective, The Legend of Zelda was clean and crisp, with detailed lines on the rocks, dungeons, and in the environment as a whole. The attacks and bomb explosions were clean, with well-defined animations for every weapon type and attack. You can tell enemies apart, and knew just by looking at them who would be hard to kill. There are some issues, sadly, that must be brought to light. The hitboxes on the enemies weren't perfect by any means. However, when you did land a blow, you felt it through your whole body. Another sad con was because of the limitations of memory on the game cartridge board. The variation of enemies were limited to 28 different enemy types in a world as vast as Hyrule. By simply changing the color palette of an enemy, this increased the danger level by double, and you know it just by looking at them. The bosses each had a unique look and attack that you could easily see and feel. The bosses' attacks were unique and exciting, with different animations and art. Overall, the art in The Legend of Zelda is worthy of its name. I am giving the art an 8 out of 10. The puzzles. The Legend of Zelda single-handedly racked up money on people's phone bills when it launched in the US. The puzzles had us perplexed and we had nowhere to turn except for the Nintendo support line. That being said, The Legend of Zelda changed the way puzzles were part of video games. Anything could be something to push, to open a door, something to blow up and see what's inside. Or most notably, the Lost Woods, where you could be stuck trying to move forward forever without knowing the right path. The Legend of Zelda changed the way we needed to look at video games by forcing you to look at the world like a puzzle. The puzzles were complex and somewhat too hard, as there wasn't exactly clear hints of where to go. To be honest, this is to this day one of the most amazing things about Zelda. The world is a puzzle, in real life and even more so in Zelda. I am giving the puzzles a 10 out of 10. The design. From the very start, Zelda was designed to be everything Mario wasn't. It was unique in every way. Designed to confuse and provoke creativity in the player. Whereas Mario was straightforward, Zelda wasn't. Everything was thought through perfectly, including the design of the dungeons. I'm not talking about the shape of each dungeon, but the way they fit together. When placed side by side in proper order, it will create a perfect rectangle. This wasn't on accident, but everything to do with making the data smaller for the cartridge. This helped the console run the game much better. Everything was thought through. Like Link's name, for example. Link, the sole element that brought everyone together. The link between worlds. There are two major things that stick out in the game that blew people's minds. First was you could clear almost the entire game without the sword. Every level gave you enough weaponry to fight and beat enemies and the bosses. The only need for the sword was to beat Ganon. Second and most amazing. The second quest, After beating the main game for the first time, if you start it up again, the world is shuffled. Dungeons are moved, the lands of Hyrule is different. There was a secret, however. You didn't even need to complete the game. If you named yourself Zelda at the save file screen, you'll be thrust directly into second quest. So in short, the game design was beyond anything else we had ever seen. I am giving the design a 9 out of 10. The conclusion and final score. So, The Legend of Zelda for the NES. It wasn't my first Zelda. However, it's one that stuck out in my memory forever. Just like the very first Zelda that I ever played, The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. That game, that's the one that brought me into the mysterious world of Hyrule. However, The Legend of Zelda for the NES is a game unlike any other during its time. Now, I've played it several times, and I could say, for a matter of fact, it is a good game to play. The design, the puzzles, the story, the lore, it all stems from this game. Now, if you haven't had a chance, I would suggest playing it. And honestly, I'm going to play it again. So, the final score with everything added up, we're looking at a solid 9 out of 10. There are things to fix about the game, but it's all part of the charm. Moving forward, please remember that The Legend of Zelda will always be a legend. Thank you so much for stopping by 123 Geek, and that was 123 Geek's Review Rewind. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon. And please don't forget, we do have a giveaway of a 123 Geek shirt and a game of your choice, or a 123 Geek shirt and a Raspberry Pi 4 Model B. And that actually is going to be at 100 subs, and we are actually approaching that very, very soon. So once again, thank you so much for stopping by 123 Geek. Have a fantastic week.